No other defender has scored more goals than Gabriel since he joined Arsenal, and it's safe to say that fans and pundits have been sleeping on him. But beyond Gabriel's knack for goal scoring and his defending heroics for the Gunners, lies someone whose personal story is underappreciated. From his humble beginnings to his North London lifestyle, net worth, and properties, here's Gabriel's lifestyle in all of its glory. Gabriel dos Santos Magalhães was born on the 19th of December 1997 in the Pirituba district of Sao Paulo. And like many of his compatriots and contemporaries, Gabriel wasn't born with a silver spoon, but you could see the fire in his eyes for football as he became an older child. At 13, Gabriel began his career at Avaí. However, he returned to Sao Paulo after only about a week because he was homesick. Gabriel cried a lot at the time, but his father and the rest of his family managed to convince him to reconsider his decision. 2 weeks later, Gabriel was back at Avaí with a psychologist and the other boys at the club also helping him to settle in. Gabriel stayed with Avaí until he signed his first professional contract at 16 and would then be an integral part of the squad that got promoted to the Brasileiro Serie A the following year. Niltinho Costa, who was Gabriel's coach at Avaí, recalled that the very first thing he noticed about the footballer was his work ethic despite not being as physically developed as some of the older kids. Oh, and I should also mention that Gabriel wasn't fond of studies, and since skipping classes wasn't an option at Avaí, Gabriel's godmother had to travel down to Santa Catarina to talk some sense into him. With the education and the physical development all coming together, nothing could stop the Brazilian now. Gabriel occasionally captained Avaí before signing for Lille on a 4.5-year contract in January 2017. But the then manager Marcelo Bielsa didn't think he was ready for the first team, so he was sent back on loan to Ligue 1 side Troyes and Dinamo Zagreb later on. Unfortunately for Bielsa, his best efforts couldn't save the club from getting into the relegation zone, so he was quickly dismissed. Gabriel returned to Lille the following year in 2018 and this time established a solid partnership with José Fonte at the heart of the defense. Gabriel continued to impress at Lille, and with Europe's big boys now fishing for a defender with so much potential, they could only hold on to Gabriel for so long. Gabriel signed for Arsenal in the summer of 2020, and for a while he was blowing hot and cold with great plays sometimes, followed by rookie mistakes. As a result, the more stable Saliba captured the hearts of many fans. But real Gunners fans know that the Gabriel-Saliba partnership is just what Arsenal needs. Ice-cold composure from one and a raging storm from the other. It's no surprise that Arsenal has had one of the most impressive defensive stats in recent seasons. They're conceding fewer and fewer goals, and on top of that, Gabriel is terrorizing everyone with incredible headers almost every week. Since the center back made his debut away at Fulham in August 2020 in front of an empty Craven Cottage, and a game in which he scored, no other defender has scored more in the Premier League. Looking back at the £27 million that Arsenal paid for Gabriel, you can argue that it was a shrewd bargain, which is why Arsenal tied him down with a new long-term contract in 2022. On the international stage, Gabriel hasn't had quite the number of appearances that he would have loved, especially considering that he turns 27 this December. Although he represented Brazil at under 20 and under 23 levels, Gabriel only received his first call-up to the Brazil senior national team in August 2023. But leaving the football aside, let's get to the juiciest part of this video by showing you a side of Gabriel that you probably didn't know. Gabriel is married to Gabriel Figueiredo, and they have a daughter together. The pair had gotten engaged in September 2021, and their daughter Maya was born in March 2022. The couple tied the knot in June 2023, but one of the more recent viral moments we've seen from Gabriel's wife Figueiredo was when she posed in a stylish leather jacket after Arsenal's recent Champions League win over Paris Saint-Germain. Figueiredo not only rocked the special leather jacket, but also dressed their daughter up in her own customized jacket with the traditional Brazilian colors superimposed on the red and white of Arsenal. Yeah, Maya, your dad is really the king of Brazil. The defender is every bit of a family-oriented person and has a section of his Instagram dedicated to his family, wife, and child. Even as an upcoming star, Gabriel chose to stay with Avaí because of family despite having the opportunity to feature for Palmeiras. But wait, there's more. Getting to know Gabriel on a personal level is probably not as difficult as some of the other footballers because he wears his heart on his sleeve. Like many of his former coaches have said, Gabriel is the type of footballer that cries after the team loses a game. That's how passionate he is. Also, the Brazilian lives a relatively simple lifestyle. He's big on tattoos, as we can see here. Because football is a difficult sport and players barely have time to catch a break, Gabriel does most of his traveling during the off-season. He spends his time in exotic holiday destinations like the Maldives and other top places with his family. When it comes to his properties, things get a little tricky for some reason. A couple of years ago, Gabriel once had to fight off 3 burglars who had a baseball bat when they attempted to steal his car. He had just returned to his home in Barnet, North London, when the robbers approached as he got out of his car. They ordered him to give him the car keys, but Gabriel wasn't gonna go down without a fight. So despite the thieves already having the keys, he struggled with them and tried to remove their masks, as we can see in the footage of the incident here. The burglars ended up fleeing with the keys, but without the car. Talk about a defender who knows how to defend himself. One of the culprits, Abdi Musa, who had the baseball bat, was later arrested and jailed at Harrow Crown Court for 5 years after admitting to robbery and possession of an offensive weapon. Gabriel received support from Arsenal in the wake of the robbery, but has since tightened the security around his North London home. He probably decided to go private on that one and not reveal much on social media. But when it comes to cars, we know what the Brazilian loves. He's a sucker for Mercedes and owns a black Benz. The word on the street is that Gabriel also has a Ferrari in his garage, but is low-key about flaunting any luxury properties on the internet. You could have sworn that being one of Arsenal's best performers, Gabriel will be among the top earners. Unfortunately, you couldn't be farther from the truth. Gabriel is one of the lowest earners at Arsenal. He brings home £100,000 weekly, which amounts to just over £5 million a year. That's an average number for a top footballer, but it gets even worse when you realize that at least 17 players earn more than Gabriel in Arsenal alone. Someone reward this guy with a more lucrative contract. Looking at past and present earnings as well as bonuses, endorsements, and other sources of income, Gabriel's net worth should be approaching the $25 million territory. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing for the defender. It was reported by many media outlets that Gabriel was contacted by an unnamed Saudi club with an insane offer. Arteta, however, tried to debunk those offers, saying that for the times he dropped Gabriel on the bench last summer, that it was due to tactical changes. But the footballer himself would then reveal that he had to be convinced to stay at the club after he found his spot under threat upon the arrival of Jurrien Timber. Gabriel has also recently responded to a hot take, responding to what Gary Neville said about Arsenal, saying that he agrees with Neville. Neville said that despite Arsenal narrowly missing out on the Premier League trophy on the last 2 occasions, they would be dismissed as nearly men, since history only remembers winners. With a couple of Arsenal players also stating that they need to win the trophy soon, you can't help but feel like it's now or never for this brilliant squad. Is this season finally going to be Arsenal's season, or do you think something is still missing? And what do you think of Gabriel?